Good afternoon. This commences the change order guidelines adoption meeting. We will wait a moment to see if we have some attendees showing up. Do we have any attendees logged in yet?
There's
Justin?
one person
Okay.
that joined in.
Great. We'll just wait a few more minutes. Like 2 more minutes. Okay, I think we should probably head off. Start this meeting off. Good afternoon and welcome to the Office of Energy Infrastructure Safety's public meeting to consider adoption of the 2022 change order guidelines. The agenda for today is I'll be doing a little introduction and then we'll have a public comment period. And I'll do an overview of the change order guidelines and also looking at the changes to the draft. And then we'll proceed, if there are no issues, to adoption and closing remarks. So today we will be taking public comment and going over the changes Energy Safety has made to the draft 2022 change order guidelines. Before we proceed with public comment, I'd like to talk for about a moment about the purpose of these guidelines. Every year, pursuant to Public Utilities Code section 8386.3A, the Office of Energy Infrastructure Safety, or Energy Safety, evaluates electrical corporations' wildfire mitigation plans or updates and approves or denies them. An electrical corporation may find that after its plan was approved, it may want or need to alter the initiatives it described in the plan to respond to new information about risks. These guidelines provide the electrical corporations with an avenue to request specific types of changes to their plans. Thank you again for coming and joining us today. We can now proceed to open up the meeting for public comment on the 2022 change order guidelines. If you wish to comment, please press the raise hand button on Zoom and you will be unmuted in order of hands raised. If you're on the phone, you can press #2 to raise your hand. We'll give this a few moments. Justin, can you see any raised hands?
No hands raised currently.
Okay. Okay, I think we can close public comment. And I'd like to just do a little overview of what these are. The change orders, the change order guidelines. So the purpose of the change order guidelines is to provide guidance to electrical corporations for requesting approval of significant changes to their wildfire mitigation plans after they have been approved by our office. Some of the things covered in the change order guidelines are the purpose of a change order, the criteria for significance for if a change order, a change rises to a certain level of significance, when to submit change order requests, how to submit change order requests, what to include with your requests, what the stakeholder comment period is, and the grounds for denial of a request. We'll go over each of these. So the purpose of a change order is for an electrical corporation to make a request for a change. And this is when an electrical corporation's WMP is approved by Energy Safety, it may gain experience that that causes it to want to seek to change approved mitigation initiatives. And it must submit a change order to Energy Safety if it wants to significantly change approved mitigation initiatives. And we expect that the change should be based on an updated understanding of risk. The criteria for a change order request are that a change order must be significant, or change must be significant. The criteria for significance includes the changes initiative category and its impact on risk reduction value or strategic direction and purpose. The categories that we're concerned about are risk assessment and mapping, vegetation management and inspections, grid design and system hardening, grid operations, asset management and inspections, and public safety power shutoff. And also, if it's in one of those categories, it should increase or decrease the initiative's risk reduction value more than 25%, again, based on an updated understanding of risk. Or the change should represent, if it's qualifying for significance, it should represent a significant shift in either the strategic direction or purpose of an initiative. Electrical corporation can submit its change order after the WMP or update has been approved by Energy Safety, and hopefully as soon as practicable after the utility determines a change is warranted. We are asking that these not be submitted any later than 5 p.m. on November 1st, 2022. Requests can be submitted through Energy Safety's e-filing system to the 2022 Wildfire Mitigation Plan docket. And electrical corporations must concurrently send all change order requests to the Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, or CAL FIRE, at CAL FIRE Utility Fire Mitigation Unit at fire.ca.gov. What needs to be included with the requests are a brief description of the proposed change, including the title of the initiative, page numbers, where we can find more of a description in the 2022 update, whether the change is a change to an approach, a target, or both. We want to know about the planned expenditure for the initiative. We want to know how much has been spent, what is planned to be spent in the current WMP cycle, and if the expenditure amount is being redeployed, the amount being redeployed into what budget, from what budget. We want to know what the type of change is, whether it's increase in scale, decrease in scale, change in prioritization, change in timing, or change in the nature of the work. And we want to know what the expected outcome from the change is within the current WMP cycle, including any reduction to wildfire risk or PSPS risk. There's a stakeholder comment pertaining to these requests, and stakeholders may comment on change order requests within 20 days of the date of the electrical corporation submits the change order request. And the 3-day deadline for discovery or data requests that pertains to the WMP or update review period also pertains to the stakeholder review of change order requests. In the guidelines, we also address the grounds for denial of a request, and a proposed change may be denied because it is not likely to reduce wildfire or PSPS public safety power shutoff risk over the existing approved initiative. The proposed change may be denied if it does not respond to an updated risk assessment or only responds to underperformance or overperformance for reasons unrelated to the risk assessment, And it also may be denied if the proposed change is too substantive for the change order process. So now I'd like to proceed to the changes that we've made to the 2022 draft guidelines. First, to review the history of the guidelines, we published the draft on July 6th. We received comments from Public Advocates Office, the California Advocates, on July 26th, and we received no reply comments. So the first change I'd like to talk about is the timing of change order requests. The change that we're making frees utilities to enact necessary changes at any time instead of waiting to enact changes until after submitting a change order request. Initially, our draft said the electrical corporation must request approval from Energy Safety prior to making any significant change to a mitigation initiative described in its 2022 update. And this has been changed to an electrical corporation must request approval from Energy Safety if it is making any significant change to a mitigation initiative described in its 2022 update as soon as practicable after the update is approved and the electrical corporation determines a change is warranted. I'd also like to talk about a change we've made to the significance criteria. Previously, it was required that a electrical corporation meet 3 criteria for its change to be considered significant, and now it is required to meet 2 criteria. We removed the draft requirement for a change to be significant by meeting a minimum change in planned cost. Now a change may be significant regardless of the change in planned cost. So our focus is on changes that impact initiatives' risk reduction value or strategic direction or purpose. And the draft criteria, to reiterate what I just said, to be considered significant, the change must meet the criteria set out in A, B, and C, meaning type of initiative, change in planned resource allocation, and change in risk. And again, as I mentioned before, the type of initiative is one of these categories: risk assessment and mapping, vegetation management and inspections, grid design and system hardening, grid operations, asset management and inspections, and public safety power shutoff. And previously, it had to meet this criterion. A change results in the following: an increase, decrease, or reallocation of more than $10 million that also results in a greater than 10% change in planned expenditures. And furthermore, it had to meet the change in risk criterion, which is the change results in any of the following: an increase or decrease of more than 25% of an initiative's risk reduction value based on an updated understanding of risk. And our final criteria is that a change is significant if it meets A and B, meaning the type of initiative and the change in risk. Change in planned resource allocation is no longer a criterion. Another change that we've made is we've extended the comment period. Initially in our draft, we had a 15-day comment period, and now it is extended to 20 days, and we have specified a 3-day deadline for discovery or data requests. Here's the final comment period language. Stakeholders may comment on change order requests within 20 days of the date the electrical corporation submits a change order request to Energy Safety's 2022 WMP's docket. The 3-day deadline for discovery during the WMP review period also applies during stakeholder review of change order requests. We are now also specifying a new basis for denial of a change order request. A request can be denied if the change is too substantive. Our final 3 bases for denial of our change order request is: the proposed change is not likely to reduce wildfire or PSPS public safety power shutoff risk over the existing approved initiative. The proposed change does not respond to updated risk assessment or responds to underperformance or overperformance for reasons unrelated to the risk assessment. And lastly, the proposed change is too substantive for the change order process. We also added a sentence under the criteria for change order request, section 2, saying that electrical corporations should also not request approval for a fundamental change in strategy, such as such a change may be too substantive for the change order process. Lastly, we have previously we put the change order guidelines into decisions that were sent out on WMP updates. This year, we're doing these guidelines, and in the future, the criteria for change order requests will be included in the 2023 WMP guidelines, the draft guidelines. We will see what happens with the draft. And then thereafter, we intend to include anything about change order guidelines in future WMP guidelines. I would like to invite our Division Deputy Director here to provide us with some language about adoption of the change order guidelines.
Thanks, Sarah. Go a little off script here and just give one more opportunity just to check if there's anybody online for public comment. We don't have anybody here in the room, and I just want to give one more opportunity to see if there's anyone online. If you would like to give any public comment, please raise your hand on Zoom or press #2. Okay, not hearing any public comment at this point. So we will move to the adoption phase of this meeting. A reminder that Government Code 15475.6 requires no less than 10 days public notice of a meeting where guidelines will be adopted. And the same code also provides that substantive changes to guidelines shall not be adopted without at least 30 days written notice to the public and an opportunity to comment. We met both of those timelines here. On July 6th, Energy Safety published its draft 2022 change order guidelines, along with the notice of this meeting to the 2022 wildfire mitigation plans docket with service to the associated service list. This provided 40 days notice of the changes to the guidelines and of this adoption meeting. The opening comment period for the guidelines was 20 days and the reply comment was 30 days. So therefore the reply comment was 10 days. And so therefore we had the 30-day comment period. Energy Safety evaluated the written comments that we received. Again, we did not receive any oral comments here today in order to develop the final change order guidelines that we are adopting here today. Earlier in today's presentation, Sarah summarized the changes that Energy Safety made to the draft change order guidelines as a result of the written comments that we received. One thing to note is that on August 12th, which was Friday, we did publish a red line version of the guidelines. However, it appears that notice did not go out to the service list. So they were placed on our website and they were placed on the docket card as far as I can tell, but service did not go out to the service list of the existence of that red line. However, it looks like service just happened recently within the last hour or so. And so anyone who wants to see a red line version of those changes that happened are able to go onto the docket card and see those changes. After following this meeting, we will publish the final guidelines again on the docket card, the WMP docket card, and we will hopefully, without any hitches, have the service of that happen as well. Given that we have met the obligations of the Government Code and held this public meeting today, the final 2022 change order guidelines are hereby adopted. As I mentioned, we will post the clean version as soon as practicable after this meeting. And with that, thank you for your participation in today's public meeting, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.